Sort of a two-a-side football team, is it? You know,
Yeah, probably.
The Daleks, I mean, the Sidemen are weak because they've got feet.
Yes. Yes, well, with the football man, yeah.
Absolutely,
Right,
yeah. Right, I'm going to sit down and get comfy.
Well, I don't know, what can we actually say about Cybermen and Daleks? I suppose the Daleks were the most iconic, aren't they? I mean, they were the first of Doctor's enemy.
The first to utilise kitchen utensils to be scary.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the first time that I came across a Dalek, not in the sense of it, we were in rehearsals, and in the rehearsal room, you only have a half a Dalek. That's right. You see it, it's on wheels, and there's a guy sitting in it going like that. And moving it around
walking around like that,
yeah. And they don't put that on until the top bit, till we get into the studio. That was the first time I saw a Dalek. First time I walked in.
You're rehearsing a scene, and John Scott Martin, who's one of the Dalek operators, is sitting in the corner knitting.
Yes.
You're trying to be serious, and he's sitting
knitting away. Yeah, we had a lot of knitted Daleks, or knitting Daleks, I should say.
Oh, we lost two already.
It's all right. Sorry, we bored you already. Oh my God, that's awful. Look at that. And now they're totally embarrassed.
Yes.
They're walking down the corridor, absolutely in fits of embarrassment. We'll never see them again.
Oh, they're going to the laboratory. They're going to the laboratory.
Are they? Oh, right.
Or they're making their way to the tent.
Well, when they come back, we can say, we know where you've been. This is our job, to embarrass people.
But yeah, the first time I met Dalek was in the Evil of the Daleks, and I was always looking forward. And anybody who was in the tent yesterday, and if we're telling the same stories, sorry, we might be boring you again with the same stories. But I always wanted to ride in the Dalek, and we actually had the Emperor Dalek, which is huge Dalek. It was higher than the ceiling of this, with all these baby Daleks. In the script, I had to say, "Look at the balls on that thing, Doctor." And of course I couldn't say it. I kept laughing, and Derek Martin was, "Oh, come on, grow up." I couldn't say it, so we changed it to, "Look at the size of that thing, Doctor." Yes, it's a big one, isn't it? And that's how we... we tried to sneak that into most of our stories. And in fact, the Seeds of Death, where we go into this museum, our first episode, there's a rocket ship and all this memorabilia, and I go, "Look at the size of that thing." Yes, it is rather big, isn't it? But then years later, in the Two Doctors, I had to say, "Look at the size of that space station," and I changed it to "Look at the size." And John Nathan Turner went at the read-through, no, producer Roy, it says, Jaime says, "Look at the size of that space station." And Patrick said, no, there's stories. Jaime always says, "Look at the size of that thing, Doctor." And I go, "Yes, Jaime, it is a big one, isn't it?" So that's how we kept it. And that was our sort of little private joke. The fans loved, obviously.
Yeah. No, I mean, my first experience of Daleks was when Doctor Who started. I mean, I was 16. Yeah, I am really that old. When it started, and yeah, so Geek Central for me, and so all the Daleks, and when Matthew Robinson rang me up to be in the show, to ask me if I'd like to do the show, he said, "Do you know anything about Doctor Who?" I said, yeah, I'm a great fan of it, back in the early days. He said, "Do you know anything about the Daleks?" I said, "Yeah, of course I do, yeah. Sort of tin cans that, exterminate people." That's it. He said, "And what about Davros?" I said, "I haven't a clue." Who's he? Because I'd stopped watching after Pat, I was off doing university and other things, and having a life, as they say. And so he had to sit me down in front of the genesis of the Daleks to bring me up to date on who Davros was, and so, and that was my first experience, really, of Daleks on screen.
It's like Davros kills all known germs.
It is, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's a well-known toilet cleaner. Yeah.
It's a part-time job, is it?
It's a part-time job, absolutely. Yeah. He just and he also, hosts, economic development meetings and things like that. Yeah.
Well, my first with the Daleks was when we did Revelation of the Daleks, and but the reason I got that, Graham Harper, you probably know Graham Harper, a great director, and I was at drama school with Graham. I've known him for many years, and he offered me the part, first of all, the mutant, which appears from a pond at the beginning of the episode, and I said, great, thanks, Graham, I'd love to do it, that's brilliant, thank you very, very much, brilliant. And then about a week later, he phoned up and said, no, he said, what I'd like you to do, he said, I'd like you to play the part of Lilt, opposite another character played by, it's called Tarkis, and like a comedy duo, sort of Laurel and Hardy type thing. I said, that's brilliant, mate, thank you very much indeed. And he'd heard that Laurence Olivier, Lord Olivier as he is or as he was, a knight of the theatre, knight of the realm, wanted to do Doctor Who, would like to have been in Doctor Who, and so he apparently phoned Laurence Olivier's agent and said, I understand Laurence Olivier would like to be in Doctor Who, and I would like to offer him the part of the mutant because Colin Spaull has turned it down. How true that is, I don't know, but apparently he did try to get through, but I think they may have put the phone down on him anyway, that's it. But that was my first time on Doctor Who.
Just to finish, we all work for Big Finish. Have you listened to Big Finish at all?
Yeah. Hands up those who haven't heard of Big Finish. You've got Joy in Store.
Yeah.
They're the most phenomenal stories, audio stories.
With Colin Baker.
With Colin Baker and me and Peter Davison and Paul McGann.
And all the companions.
All the companions and David Tennant now. David Tennant's doing them as well.
I pop in now and again.
Yeah, you do pop in now and again, and then we throw you out and we carry on. But no, they're fantastic. And if you've got long driving to do, trust me, they're the best thing for driving.
Yes.
You know, you've got a long drive, an hour, shove the cassette in. It's a brilliant way to pass the time. It really is. But yeah, Big Finish stuff.
And Lisa Bauman directs most of them. Yeah. And I'm always trying to get in Jamieisms or Patrick and things, and she always says, no, it's not in the script, it's not in the script. And no. And I was doing one called Lords of the Red Planet, and John Dorney wrote it. It was a lovely story. And I got to this scene, I went, Lisa, yes. I said, is John Dorney there, the writer? Yes. I said, well, you cannot cut my next line. He's written it. What is it? And it said, Jamie and the Doctor are looking at the rocket ship. The Doctor says, yes, Jamie, it is a big one, isn't it? Like, cannot cut it out. And that's in the Lord of the Red Planet. My favourite line, Lord of the Red Planet.
Yes, Jamie. Excellent. So, Cybermen. I actually played with Cybermen. No, that's not. I played with Cybermen. It's just a hobby. No, I got invited by Matthew, having done Davros. He said, "Do you want to play a real person?" You know, I said, "Yeah."
Well, Cybermen are real people.
No, partly. He said, "I'm doing this thing called Attack of the Cybermen, and I need somebody to be this undercover police detective." You know, so so I got to be killed by a Cyberman. Oh. Now the great thing about Cybermen is they're really massive, and I love it. David Banks was in, and in fact I now use that phrase "excellent" as Davros, but it was one of the Cybermen's phrases. David Banks always used it to go "excellent," you know, when he was crushing somebody or other. And at the end of the first episode, I came into the TARDIS with the Doctor. We got in through, the TARDIS was then an organ. It wasn't the police box. It had changed into an organ because it had gone funny, the comedian circuit. And we got in and suddenly realised there were Cybermen in the TARDIS. And so I grabbed this gun and I shot this Cyberman who was coming through the door, you know. And then suddenly I turned around and the other people were coming in, and I was backing up and a Cyberman came up behind me. And he had to chop me across the back of the head so I'd die, you know. Well, they're massive, these Cybermen, they really are. Enormous big guys, you know. And so this Cyberman lumbered towards me, and then it was a case of die, you brutes, go on, lie down. It's like, can we do it a bit more butch? You know, can we have a bit more peace behind it? Yeah. So I had about 3 goes until he eventually nearly took my head off as I lay across the floor. Then I got them in the box saying, Terry, we've got the wire that runs from the back wall to operate the TARDIS console, and we can see it when you fall. Could you fall so that you cover it? Cover the wire, which was 16 feet long, you know, and I'm you know, hardly that big. So I was having to do that as well. Now, the interesting thing about the TARDIS, and not many people know this, it has a self-cleaning system. If anyone dies in the TARDIS, the body immediately disappears. Now, this self-cleaning system was instituted by the BBC Accounts Department. Because I died at the end of the episode 1. Now, normally they reprise the end of episode 1 and episode 2. If my body had been there at the beginning of episode 2, I'd have got another fee. So the TARDIS self-cleaned my body. Courtesy of the Cybermen.
Bernard Holly got 2 parts, because he got killed in the Tomb of the Cybermen at episode 1. In episode 2, he was there, and he always says he got full money again for lying on the floor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I didn't. They just wiped me.
And the Cooperative Funeral Society now use that in their brochure. It's much cheaper.
It's much cheaper.
Yeah, it's much cheaper.
Die in the TARDIS.
That's right, yeah, the TARDIS.
The Tomb of the Cybermen, hands up for those who've seen the Tomb of the Cybermen. Well, we had Maurice Barry, the director, and he wasn't known for his sense of humour. And Patrick and I wanted to put a gag in, and we knew that if we'd put it in at rehearsals, he would say, no, not having. So on the take, when we go into this huge Toblerone has opened the door and somebody's died, we go in, and in the script, we're supposed to grab Victoria's hand and say, come on, Victoria, it's all right, and we walk in. But on the take, we arranged that we grab each other's hand. We go, come on, and we go, like Laurel and Hardy, and go and get it. We never told her either. And she said, what are the boys doing? They're supposed to grab my hand. And the scene carried on and cut. Maurice Barry went furious, but Peter Bryant, who was the producer, was in the box upstairs. He said, no, actually, that's just what we needed. We had all this tension of somebody getting electrocuted, open the doors, then Toblerone opens the doors, and we creeping in. Just what we needed, a little bit of to break that. So our little gag was in there, and it's there for all to see.
Excellent.
When I worked with the Cybermen on the episode that I did with Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel, did anyone see that one? Yeah, great. And thank you. And I came out my nice caravan thing, my dressing room, and these guys were walking towards me. God, were they intimidating! I mean, huge. And they really looked magnificent. I mean, it was the time when they put the new...
the Robocop.
Yeah, the Robocop. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And but I died at the end. I get killed by a Cyberman, and we had a bit... The idea was he would grab me and pick me up and throw me across the room. So that was fine. So we had this rig, a wire rigged up, and I had two lots of clothing, because one of the clothing had to have a holes drilled through it, and a wire harness. I was fitted to a harness. So when the actual guy grabbed hold of me and went like that, the guys pulling it, they shot me backwards across the studio, landing on mattresses and things. But a couple of times I didn't have the straps adjusted quite right on the but I had to do it twice because I had to lie down for 10 minutes.
Did you have any dialogue after that?
No, couldn't do it. Couldn't speak. Could not speak. Yeah. By that time, I was brown bread. It was all over for me. Thank God for that.
I still think our Cybermen were the baddies, because they had silver boots on and sprayed silver Wellington boots, rubber, and they could walk up behind and just grab you, whereas these new lot, your lot, you could hear them coming down there and leg it out that window there.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Yeah. Well, somebody asked me a little while ago that what was the strangest thing that I've ever seen at a convention. And Frazer and I were in Colorado Springs a year ago, or whatever it was, and there was a lady who had a tortoise, only a small tortoise, about 1.5 foot in diameter, to which she attached 4 little Daleks on strings. So this poor thing was wandering along the corridor in the hotel, dragging 3 Daleks behind it. I've never seen anything like it. I wish I'd have taken a photograph.
That is outrageous. I mean, the poor Dalek's been dragged along like a tortoise. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that taught us, didn't it?
Oh, dear.
These are the jokes.
I knew I shouldn't have done. I'm sorry. I knew I shouldn't have done this panel with Frazer.
Denny Watney went out with a Cyberman once.
Really?
Reg Whitehead. He was about 7'2", and he asked out for a
I thought you were
date.
going to say Reg Varney for a moment.
No. And they went up to a nightclub, and he got up to dance, and of course he had to pick her up so that eye to eye, because her feet were just dangling. And
Well, she's only 3 inches tall anyway.
so she dated a Cyberman.
Yeah, did Debbie and Wendy? I mean, they're big as this car.
Oh, they're tiny.
Can I just ask you about Daleks, because they keep on changing. I mean, we've been through various generations of Daleks. We've had, grey ones, we've had white ones, we've had black ones, and we've had the Teletubbies, which we try to forget about. But, do people like that? I mean, do you think it's right that, or should it just always be the same? It's like the Cybermen have evolved from the Mondayan ones that we've got in the new series. Oh dear, I've let that one out of the back. Through to the, to the RoboCop ones, haven't we? Do you think that's a good idea, or would you prefer them all to be? There we are. I ask the intelligent questions, and everyone goes dead silent. You see? No,
They're all thinking.
you like different ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm with you on that. Actually, I think it is good. Absolutely, the Doctor changes, and why can't they? Yeah.
Well, so somebody figures out an easy way to kill them, obviously, well, gee, we'll just plug them right here. Well, great, plug the hole and then move on.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to be extinct real quick.
This is true. Yeah. So I think the thing is Daleks versus Cybermen. So who do you think would win? We have a show of hands for Daleks. Show of hands for Cybermen. Okay. Well, see you, Paul. That's great. Great having you on the panel. Yes, I mean, they do sort of. But both the Daleks and the Cybermen I find interesting. It's a bit like, zombies. You can always get away from zombies because they always lumber. And zombies are the same, or vampires or whatever, they will come stretchy arms, And it's the same with the Daleks, they kind of trundle towards you, or the Cybermen go bomb, 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 and you can get away. Why don't they have fast,
Yeah, neither are very speedy. Are
No,
they?
they're not,
They
no.
need a thrust or some sort
They
of.
do, yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, most of the Daleks are flying around.
Yes, of course.
They can fly though, yeah.
Yeah, they can fly. Yeah,
They fly.
Yeah.
Well, it always could.
Ours couldn't fly. Ours
They always could. Yeah.
We could never go upstairs with ours.
No.
We'd run upstairs and that was it. They were knackered.
Yeah.
They couldn't get us.
Well, that's it, mate. End of the story.
That was the early version of the Daleks, because it used to have child rails to stop them getting upstairs. Child cage at the bottom of the stairs, no Daleks, that's it, couldn't get up. We're going to open it to questions. Why don't we open it up to questions?
Yeah, does anybody
right,
want to
anything got a question?
really?
Yes, come on down, sir. You've won tonight's Star Prize, come and get a question. Cut the dance in there.
Okay, so I've always wondered, you've played the role of Davros pretty much this whole entire time. Were there any alternative ideas or stories for Davros that never occurred that they decided to go different directions with?
I don't know. We don't know these things. They kind of do them in secret. I mean, the only thing I like is the fact that when Big Finish came along, it opened up a whole new tranche of stories because they could really go places that they wouldn't do in the television. And we had, there's a mini series called I, Davros, which traces Davros's journey from a 15-year-old boy up to the creation of the first Dalek. So the very end of the series ends with the very first Dalek saying, "I am alive." So you see that transition from Aryan youth to monster and how it happens, which they're now starting to feed into the thing. But in those days, that was the things they didn't stick with. They did all kinds of other things. They were all battles and stuff. So I don't know what they had planned and what they threw away and what scripts they got or whatever. Yeah. Another question from anyone? Yes.
I just have to say this because we're on the subject of I, Davros. If anyone hasn't listened to I, Davros, get it. It's a 4 CD set. His voice will give you goosebumps. It's the best thing I've ever heard from Big Finish, and you've got to listen to I, Davros.
Thank you. Yes,
Right, that's about
do a lot of rather personal.
That's about $300 you owe her,
Yeah, I
mate.
do. Yeah, you can get a Big Finish, and you can download it, so you don't have to get the CDs. You can download it, whatever. But there's a lot of Big Finish titles. They do all sorts of stuff. Frazer and I did.
Was it not The Dying Light? Was it?
It was The Dying Light.
Was it The Dying Light?
Yeah, a companion chronicle.
That's the only one we've done together, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. where Frazer was doing him and Pat.
And Patrick.
And I was playing a Time Lord called Stein, who had been trapped on the TARDIS when the Doctor first stole it. And he got damaged. He was trying to recapture the TARDIS and take it back to Gallifrey. And it was all to do with mirrors and things and the moon and things, was it? Was that one or was that?
No, that was another one called the Mirror Queen or something.
Luna Romana.
Yeah. Was Wendy in that one?
Wendy was in. No, yeah. I think she was. I can't remember now.
One of my favourite ones is that I did. It's called Salation Gambit, and as Terry said, I get it. We put it in a car, long journey, and you're going, oh yeah, no. I'm going, oh, I'm playing Ben then. You know, oh, that's me, Jaime. Oh, I'm doing the dog. Oh, I play the old dowager there. Oh, I'm playing the bank manager. Oh, the Salation. Oh, I'm playing the monsters. I'm playing 9 characters out of the 10. So I got to my journey. I rang David Richardson. I said, David, I was just listening to the Salation Gambit. I said, there's 10 characters, you know, and I played 9 of them. If you'd bought me a pair of tight jeans, I could have done Polly as well.
Yes, they're very good at double casting people, so that it's saving them money. But, well, not that they pay anything really anyway. We only go for the food. No, it's true. It's absolutely true. Toby, who is the studio manager, he is the most phenomenal chef, and he produces in this cupboard. It's literally the size of the size of that table.
Yeah, that's right.
He produces the most phenomenal lunches. You know, hot curries and all sorts of beautiful
grilled
salmons and desserts to die for, and he's doing that while he's actually still recording. He'll just nip out talking about something and fiddle something else and come back, and suddenly it'll appear. So we just go for the food.
Brilliant.
Another question.
Yes, any more questions? No?
Beating them into submission. Lovely. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Come on down, sir.
We're just going to ask, when are the Cybermen going to get an upgrade that lets them compete with the Daleks so they get more hands?
I'm afraid the Cybermen are a bit like Microsoft computers. They fail all the time. Whereas the Daleks are Apple. And we don't deal with dark viruses. Yeah, well, I mean, who knows? Well, the new lot, the old one, I should say. They've got the Mondains, haven't they? I found those scary. Did you? Which were the
Mondain?
The old ones with the big, with the kind of stocking mask heads.
Oh, the Cybermen, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
More frightening than
somebody was saying what they're called. Mondas. The Mondas. Yeah,
the Mondas.
Mondas Cybermen. Because they were scary, because you could realise you really did see they were humans.
They were human inside,
they had been, upgraded, but with stocking masks.
Through business class, did they?
Well, it's more about premium economy, I think.
Oh, yes, that's more like it.
Yes. Another question.
Any more questions?
Do you have a preference when you get into a script and they hand it to you and it's a Dalek episode or something? Is there a part of you that goes, oh, good, it's a Dalek episode, or is there a part of you that's like, oh, it's one of these, because you're going to have a certain set of, I'm going to have to run and find some stairs and that kind of thing.
Those old stories. You always have to run and
flight upstairs and scream. Well, you had Debbie for that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just deviating slightly. We had Ice Warriors. We were the first to have the Ice Warriors, and Bernard Breslau, who was a very famous actor, he had to be bolted into this Ice Warrior costume, and once he was in it, he couldn't sit down. So his dresser used to have a little shooting stick that he could stick up his bottom, and so he could lean back at least. If you're doing a scene without an Ice Warrior, and you're being all dramatic, you look in the corner of your eye, and there, on one of the other sets, is this Ice Warriors reading the Racing Post. Sit down. And the way the Ice Warriors killed somebody, it was a mirror, a very, very highly shiny mirror, but it was rubber. So the actor would run up to his mark, the camera wouldn't point at the actor, it would point at the mirror, and a prop man would then pull the mirror, this rubber, and it looked like the body of the actor getting killed was convulsing. I mean, once the Ice Warrior was chasing this extra who was going to get killed. Kill him, and the actor hit his mark, and the camera was there, and it popped around, and the handle came off, So the mirror stayed complete, like, and I swear, shit, missed the bugger.
Yes, things always go so beautifully well in studio, don't they?
They do, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because they don't tell you. I mean, I remember in Resurrection of the Daleks, I was meant to be in my lab, and some of the other Daleks, other faction, blew the doors off the lab, you know, and they just say, "Oh, it's just going to be a little sort of little bang while we, you know." So I'm sitting there in my chair, you know, and there's bam, and half the entire BBC television centre flies towards me. I'm like, whoa! You know, because they don't really tell you exactly what's going to happen.
Well, in the war games, it was set in World War One, and we shot at a Brighton rubbish dump, and it was built like a World War One trench. And again, we stood there, and the director said, "Well, there's an explosion, and it's a bomb blows up." Patrick said, "How big's it going to be?" I said, "Oh, don't worry, Patrick. We'll."
He's offering me a gin and tonic.
Oh, right. So Patrick said, "Can we see the explosion?" But no, we can't. It's all been set now. But Patrick, I want to see how big it's going to be, so we can react to it. Look, we'll get the explosive expert. He'll show you. Fred, and this guy came along, half his face gone and 2 fingers missing. This is Fred. Unfortunately, he lost a couple of fingers last week putting an explosion, and he put too much powder in it. And Patrick went, "Blow it now!" And they blew it, and this rock that was hidden blew and landed right where Patrick would have been standing. So it's always worthwhile to say, "Can you just see what the explosion's going to be like?"
Yeah. No, Michael Caine says when people say to him, "Look, all you have to do is, you know, jump off this building, run along there, you wade through the tub of snakes, you know, wrestle the alligator, you know, the large building would collapse on top of you, you know, it's perfectly safe, you know."
Yes.
And he always says, "Right, lovely. Well, you show me how it's done."
Well, remember the old movie star, Victor Mature, the lovely old Hollywood movie star. He said, "Right, Victor, you dive in the river and you swim across the river and you're rescuing the heroine." And he said, this river's full of alligators. Yeah, they don't worry, Miss Mature. We've had the prop man firing bullets, you know, shotgun blast, for the last 10 minutes, scaring the alligators away. He said, "Yeah? What about the deaf ones?"
Do we have another question? Yes, sir.
I know when like props go wrong and you have issues and they're like you're under pressure, like let's move. Do you have time to kind of collect yourself, or you're under the gun? We got to get this done.
Yeah.
Well, this is something happened to me, but it was nothing to do with Doctor Who. Many years ago, I was doing a television series for the BBC called Great Expectations, in which I played Pip. As Pip as the boy, and there was a scene with Estella. I know we're going away from Doctor Who. We're talking about props there, and there was a card game that we had to play. Dickens wrote this. It's in the book. Pip puts down an ace, Estella puts down a 3, and Pip puts down and describes the game. So this was all set, all arranged. Excuse me. It was all arranged, and so when the game, then she said, "Let's play, Pip." So she picks up these cards and splits them in half, and they've been set so that whoever starts first, they will then come out in the correct order. But obviously, and then we broke before we actually went live on air, and it was live on air in those days. So at 5 o'clock we were counted down. We came to this particular scene, and I saw this sort of strange look in the girl that was playing Stella's eyes, and she handed me my cards, and we started playing, and they were in no order whatsoever. We had no idea what was happening. So eventually, after being going, I could see vaguely in the back of my peripheral vision one of the floor managers going, "Do something, do something." And I'm 13 years old, for Christ's sake. And so I eventually looked through my cards, and I said, "All these cards are plain, miss. I think you've won." And we carried on the scene. Whoa, that was we just loved it. So we can go back to Doctor Who now.
Did you see Revelation of the Daleks? Revelation of the Daleks?
Yeah.
Yep. There's a scene in the laboratory where Davros's head is in a tank, swinging around, you know. So it looks as though it's just a head. And they built this contraption, so it just looked as though it was my head. And I was on a swivel chair, bolted into this thing. And they built it so it looked as though there was nothing underneath, with all these steel columns and things, which is fine. So we're on the floor, they put me in this place, I start to turn around and start to take my kneecap off on the upright, because they hadn't measured me in relation to the thing. So they don't have time to do things, we can't stop now and rebuild the thing so that it fits you, So they come up with the bright idea of tying my legs up underneath me to the back of the chair. And I had to pull myself around with my hands, which was causing a fair degree of
discomfort.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only discomfort, but his legs were dropping off. But bless him, Graham was doing that, and he realised what was happening. Thankfully, most of the stuff I had in that was either reaction shots or a couple of lines tops. And we shot all those scenes, bang, 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 in about 25 minutes. And they released me and off to A&E for the rest of the day. But one suffers for one's art, but and things do go wrong, but usually they get around it.
Was there a big queue at A&E when you had to go? Was it? There's massive. I was at A&E a few weeks ago, and the queue was so long that the bloke at the head of the queue was in for a musket wound.
All right, okay, fine.
Back to Doctor.
Was that which episode was that? The musket wound was?
I was asked to do the 5 Doctors, and I was doing a soap opera at the time called Emmerdale Farm, and they wouldn't release me. So JNT said, "Well, if you've got a couple of days, Frazer, I want you to do it." And I got sort of 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, and I said, "I've got next Wednesday, Thursday." I said, "Right, I want you in it. I was supposed to be with Patrick all the way through, but they made him the Brigadier joined him instead. And it was just those 2 lines in the 5 Doctors. "No, the Brigadier's right! Ah!" That was it. And I thought, well, I want to go down and see Patrick again. So I went down, went to the Acton Hilton, which is the big rehearsal room, the BBC used to rehearse it, and there was Peter Davison there, John Pertwee, all the Doctors. And I saw Patrick and Wendy, we just leapt on each other, we rolled over, giggling and laughing and tickling. And John Pertwee, he went to Sarah Jane, "You don't do it to me. Tickle me, I'm in the floor, tickle me now. We don't have, we had so much fun." And at the end of it, J&T said, "Well, Frazer, it was so much fun, do you want to do some more?" I went, "Oh yeah." He said, "Well, I'll put in the 2 Doctors." So a year later, I did the 2 Doctors with Colin and Perry.
Yeah.
Nicola Bryant, sorry, senior moment. So if I hadn't done those 3 lines or 4 lines, if I said I can't be bothered on my day off to do those 2 lines, I would never have done the 2 Doctors. But that was, we flew to Seville in Spain,